Hi, this video will cover section 2 of the Hoppy Bunny tutorial. So far we've created an Xcode project and we've imported all of our assets, and we can see the assets here in the assets.xc assets folder. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to kind of set up our basic project. So there's a few files here and it's a little confusing as to what type they are. You'll notice that some of the files end in .swift. These are files that contain code written in the Swift language, and then some of the files end in .sks. These files are special files that let you edit the content of your game graphically, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this gamescene.sks first. And you can see it kind of looks like something here, right? You can kind of see some lines in there, and I see this hello world in the middle. What is this? Well, this is the game. So if we saw the game on the screen right now, it would look like this. And it looks a little big there. If I click the minus button at the bottom here, you can see we're zooming out, and then this is kind of what the game screen would look like. Imagine this is the screen on your phone, right? This hello world is really a label object, and you could put any text you want in here. You can even change the text here. You can say, hi, right? You can move it around, right, and place it anywhere you want on the screen. We're not going to use this label, so why don't we double click, or not double click, but select it once by clicking and hit delete on the keyboard, and then this is what we have left here, right? And what we have here is sort of an outline that shows the size of the screen. So what we want to do is we want to set the screen to a size that might be kind of universal for a lot of games. So what we'll do is we'll go over to the property inspector here, right? You can see it says scene, and then it's got name and camera. If you don't see that, choose one of the buttons here. Choose the one in the middle, this one with this circle. This is properties or attributes, right? So with the screen selected here, we'll see the width and height of the screen, the anchor point of the screen, the name, the background color, and stuff like that, right? So what we want to do is we want to change the width and height right now to something that'll fit a lot of different phone sizes. So what we'll do is we'll change this to 320 by 568. That's the size, I think, of the iPhone 5, okay? And so, we can scale that up to fit iPhone 6. It'll fit iPhone 5. It'll scale up to fit iPhone 6 Plus and some other phones. It'll fit iPhone SE. So this is probably a pretty good, size to use for a lot of things, right? You can use the plus button if you want to zoom in, and you can, drag to move it around, okay? So the next thing we'll do is we'll set the background color. Okay, so we want to set a background color for our screen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the color here, right where it says color there. I'll click on this, and it opens up the color slider. And what I'll do is I'll click on the this thing here and switch it to RGB sliders if you don't see it, right? You can also set the color here, but I want to type the numbers in. So I'm going to switch to the second one and choose RGB. And then I'll type in 72 and 192 and 203. Okay, so that'll be the sky color of our background, right? And then you can close the color picker. Okay, so next what I want to do is I want to add some of the artwork that we imported previously into our scene so that we see it, right? So what we'll do is we'll go to the bottom here, okay? And this little palette kind of slides up, and it's got 4 choices. So there's, code snippets, assets here, and this little film strip, and some game objects and stuff on this one, right? So what we want to do is we want to choose this last one with the film strip. Okay, and this shows all of the artwork that you imported previously. So what we want to do is we want to go here and we want to drag some of that artwork into our scene. So don't drag it all, but we'll grab a few things, okay? So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to find the ground here, and I'll drag it into the scene here, and then you can kind of position it wherever you like, That looks like a good spot there. And then I'll grab the clouds. It's a little hard to see the clouds because they're white against a white background. So I'll drag the clouds up here. And then maybe we'll grab some of these crystals here, and I'll drag these. These kind of look like mountains or something, so I'll put them there. And then there's our scene. Okay. So next, what we want to do is we want to create a new scene that will be the bunny. So we're going to put the bunny in its own scene and then reuse that scene in this one. So you can combine scenes together. So sometimes that's useful for some things, right? So first, what we'll do is we'll go to the File menu and we'll choose New File. And then we'll find, we'll have to scroll down a little ways. And what we're looking for here is a Sprite Kit scene, which is this one. Okay, if you don't see this, you might not be on iOS here. So if it's on Watch or TV, then you might not see this file. But if you click on iOS, it should be there if you scroll down. It should be under Resource, right? So we'll choose Sprite Kit Scene, and then I'll click Next. And then you can give this scene any name you like, but I'm going to call it Hero. And Xcode will add the .sks because this will be an SKS file just like game scene here, right? So we can just call it Hero. And then you can choose a place to save it. Make sure you save it into your Hoppy Bunny folder, right? So I'll just save it here. Click Create, and it'll be part of our project. And now we have another scene just like that last one. And again, you can zoom out with the minus button, right? And what we'd like to do is we'd like to add the bunny to this scene, okay? So you can drag your, maybe I'll drag this first bunny, bunny number 1, into the scene. And you can see the bunny is a little smaller than this box here. So why don't we resize this scene so it's the same size as the artwork? Okay, so this scene, right now you can see at the top here it says Sprite because I have the Sprite selected. So Sprite is like a little bit of artwork that's on the screen. And if I click outside to deselect the bunny, you can see it says Scene, right? So a scene can contain sprites. So here we see Scene, and what we'll do is we'll go to the size here and we'll set the size to 32 by 32, which is the size of the bunny. And then I think I'll zoom in on it a little bit here until it looks pretty good there so I can see it. And then I'll drag the bunny and kind of snap it into the scene. Looks like that box kind of cuts off the bunny a little bit. Maybe I'll make this like a little bit bigger. I'll make it 33 by 33. Maybe 34. There we go, right? It doesn't matter too much. You can just get it close enough. And there we go. Okay, so where's our next bit, right? What we want to do is we want to create an animation for the bunny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the little button here, and what's going to happen is the Xcode will open up this palette at the bottom here, and this is kind of a timeline. So this shows time along the bar at the top here, and what we can do is we can create an animation that runs across time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the object palette here, and we want to get this second to the last item, okay? So this is the object library. And what we'll do is we'll scroll down until we find, and I think it's actually almost to the end here, it says Animate with Textures action. Okay, so these actions create things that happen within your game, okay? The animation with textures or animate with textures action animates an object through a number of frames, or it cycles through a series of images, right? So we'll grab this animate with textures and drag it onto the timeline. And then we'll want to set the duration here, okay? So what we'll do is we'll set the duration to 0.5 seconds. So I'll type in 0.5, and you can see that the timeline here gets a little shorter, or that little section gets shorter. You can actually just drag it like this if you like. And there's our timeline for the animation, right? And now what we want to do is we want to add some textures here that will cycle through this length of time. And if we switch back to our media palette, which has all the images in it, we can drag the bunny into the images area here, and then drag bunny number 2 in there, and then this will be our animation, okay? Now what we want to do is we want to create a cycling animation here. So what we'll do is we'll click on the timeline here, and you'll see when I hover over it, there's a little, arrow here and kind of a circle, and if you click on that, it gives you looping options. And so the looping option says how many times this sequence of animation will loop. So this one sequence here, this half-second sequence, contains 2 frames, and for every time I loop it, it will play those 2 frames again and again and again, right? What I want to do is I want to tell it to loop forever. So what I'll do is I'll click on what we need to do is click on the infinity symbol. So I'll click on that, and then we can close this, and then we've got our bunny that will loop forever. And you can click the animate button here and see what the animation will look like. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I hope that that is helpful. Okay, and we'll go on with the next video to cover some more of the features.